I want to start by asking you something. Can you think of a song that stopped you in your tracks, that reached deep inside your soul and said, I see you? I remember when that happened to me when I was about 13. It was the first time that I'd ever heard Portishead, and it was their song Sour Times that came on. And I just immediately felt seen, validated, heard, like it got me. That moment changed how I saw music. And if you're sensitive, it's likely that you've experienced similar, visceral, strong moments when listening to music as well. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. I'm Hayley, a highly sensitive psychotherapist, and I help other sensitive people to process their emotions, to find their voices, and to honestly feel more like themselves. And if this video is already resonating, then please like and subscribe so that I can reach more people just like you. If you're sensitive or highly sensitive, music probably hits you differently than it does for other people. Perhaps you've cried at music, perhaps you find it really moving, maybe a piece of music can really elevate your mood. It can have a real, true impact on you in a positive way, but also possibly in a negative way. I remember going to a concert last year and I was just crying at how moving this piece of music was, this live music, and it didn't seem like the people sitting next to me were crying in the same way that I was. And there is a reason for that, and that's because highly sensitive people process sensory input more strongly and more deeply than other people do. And so music, with all of its emotional layers and textures and the way that it conveys a narrative that really tugs at your feelings, it's no wonder that music can have these profound and moving and emotional effects on people who are sensitive. And part of what makes that so powerful is that music triggers dopamine. This is a neurotransmitter that's known for pleasure, reward, and motivation. We also experience it when we eat good food, or when we drink alcohol, or even when we have sex. So music is one of those amazing pleasures in life that we all get to experience. And that physical sensation, the chills that you get when you listen to music, researchers call that frisson. And that is a neurological response to music as well. So your brain is literally rewarding you for listening to music. And music can also hold space in a way that lots of other things can't. You can feel seen, heard, validated, reassured. It can be cathartic. It can help you to process your feelings. And I think for people who are sensitive in a big, noisy world, that validation can actually be really important. In my work as a therapist, music can be really helpful to talk about. Not because I am a music therapist, I'm a holistic integrative therapist actually, but by talking about music, it can highlight where a client is at in terms of their emotional state. It can also represent our personality, our social skills, and other things that are going on in our inner world. But importantly, if you're wanting to explore music as a therapeutic tool for your well-being, it's important to know that you don't have to play an instrument, you don't have to be an amazing singer, you don't even really need to be able to sing in tune. Anyone can have a relationship with music, and so this is a wonderful tool that is really easy and accessible for most people to use. And the thing that I love most about music is that it has this way of accessing our emotions that we might otherwise want to suppress. It can be really powerful in quite a subtle kind of way. Okay, but I do want to share something that is a little bit controversial, which is that music can also sometimes have a negative impact in some cases. That's not to say that music isn't positively impactful, but I think it's important just to be aware of your intention when you're listening to music and when you're using it as a tool for your well-being. So for example, if you're feeling anxious and you put on some music that is chaotic or angry or really busy, then that's probably not what your nervous system needs. Your nervous system is already feeling stretched and it probably needs something that's quite soothing, maybe some ambient music, some instrumental music, even some nature sounds, something like that. And if you're heartbroken, sure, it can feel cathartic to listen to some sad songs about love and heartbreak for a while, but probably not for hours and hours on end. And I say this with love and zero judgment because I've definitely been there myself. But if you're spending too long, you are wallowing in those feelings and maybe you're not processing those feelings enough. So just be aware that yes, it can be helpful to sit with your feelings, but it's also helpful to process and move through your feelings. And this is where this technique called the ISO principle can be really helpful. This is a technique that's used in music therapy, which is where you can listen to music that matches your mood, which might be sad or angry, and then you gradually shift that music to match a more desired mood, like happy, energized, something like that. So it's helping you to gently process and move through your feelings rather than suppressing them. So for example, if you're feeling a bit agitated or angry, you could start off by listening to Bjork's song called Army of Me, which is really kind of like angry and jarring, and then perhaps start listening to something like Bjork's Hyper Ballad, which is a lot more expansive and elevating. The antidote isn't to stop listening to music, but it's to use it with intention. So here are 3 simple ways that you can use music intentionally, and you can start with any one of these today. They're really easy and accessible. So the first one is breathing with music. So if you're wanting to, for example, calm your nervous system or stop feeling so anxious, you could play some slow tempo music and do some slow controlled breathing, perhaps extended exhales or deep diaphragmatic breathing, something like that. And what happens is that the body will start to match the tempo of the music, and your breath can also match the tempo of the music. And this is a phenomenon called entrainment, which is where our heart rate and our brain waves and our breathing can all match the tempo of the music that we're listening to, which is pretty amazing. Music also has these other incredible physiological effects, like it can change our heart rate, our blood pressure, it can regulate all kinds of physiological things. The second tool is to build your own emotional playlists. So perhaps start with 3 different emotional states that you find yourself in often, and create a playlist for each of those. So for example, a need to get motivated, or a need to cry it out, or winding down before bed. You could create a playlist for each of those using songs that you have selected, or not just songs, but any piece of music that you've selected. It's important that you've selected it and that it's music that you know that you love. If it's just a random playlist, it just won't have the same effect. I personally love listening to a playlist by John Hopkins called Quiet, and that really helps me to wind down before bed. And the third thing that you can try is mindful listening. Do you ever listen to music for the sake of listening to music? I think actually a lot of us don't do that. So it can be really helpful to pay attention to the music that you're listening to without doing anything else. So don't look at your phone, maybe even close your eyes if that helps, and really tune in to the melody or the rhythm or the textures, whatever it is that that you like when you're listening to that piece of music. And it's amazing how quickly and effectively that can bring you into the present moment and really help you to feel better, to feel more regulated. And it's such an easy thing to do, you know, it can take just 2 or 3 minutes. And for highly sensitive people, this can be genuinely restorative. So if this resonated with you, please hit like and subscribe because it helps me to reach more people like you. Please also check out my channel for other videos relating to holistic health and well-being for sensitive people.